Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Memorial Day weekend is upon us. Happy Memorial Day to everybody at home. I hope you're enjoying, at least on the East Coast out in Jersey. It's beautiful out. But I tell you, even as nice as it's been this weekend, I got to a bunch of movies. And Friday night, I was really psyched to go check out this horror film. Kind of taking a twist on like if something had gone differently with one of our favorite superheroes. And it's some pretty scary and graphic stuff. What are we talking about? Pull up a chair, man. Take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler free into Brightburn. That is, of course, being produced and given to us by Mr. James Gunn, his brother Brian, one of the writers, and his cousin Mark, the other, and David Yarovesky, who showed up in Guardians as like one of the Ravagers, and is also known for the Hive horror movie from 2014. He got to go with this one, man, and I tell you, it was funny. Like when this stuff started to come out, first we were teased it going into San Diego Comic-Con, and then all that stuff with James Gunn and Disney happened, and now all that's been erased. Thank God. And this kind of got pushed to the side, but sure enough, slowly but surely, we finally started to see things, and it was interesting to watch people react to those trailers that felt so much like the Man of Steel trailers. Yarovesky and whoever cut the trailers certainly shot a lot of things that blatantly make it feel a lot like Man of Steel, because essentially this movie is if Superman had crashed on Earth and was raised by wonderful parents who were hoping to have a kid and given a good environment to grow up in, but just inherently is not good. What that looks like, evil Superman. And that's what Brightburn delivers. And I'll say this much, the movie's pretty predictable, and it follows pretty standard beats. Like you can figure out where this thing is going really easily. But I in no way mean to knock Brian and Mark Gunn, because what they give you, man, really, pushes you to the edge of your seat and makes you go, oh my God, dude. Like, and the things that David Yarovesky shows you, so much more graphically violent than I thought this movie was going to be. I mean, there's one sequence in particular where I was like, oh, so all those cartoons and comic books I've read over the years, that's what it does to, okay, oh man. Like, and there are some really good pop scares, and they build wonderful imagery, throughout the whole movie. Anytime, Mr. Brandon Breyer decides to pop up and wreak havoc on people, you are on the edge of your seat. And I really dug that stuff. And like I said, this isn't, trying to reinvent the wheel. I think it follows a pretty standard formula. Since we know we're driving to try to get one thing, there are a lot of beats in this movie that you can see coming. But everybody's having fun with it, man. And in turn, as an audience member, you have fun watching this movie. And it's filled with really wonderful performances. That was the thing that really got this movie for me. Like I said, when you're in kind of one of those like middle of the row horror films, you need a really solid cast performance and an interesting concept to be really entertained start to finish. And fortunately, all of that works really well. Liz Banks as Mom Tori Breyer crushed it, dude. Oh man, Liz Banks is such. I was sitting there, I was like, oh man, I wish Liz Banks was my mom. Like, she just believes so much and so hard that there's good inside of Brandon when things start to go haywire, and she like denies it to the end, like any good mom would do in this situation, because the things that are happening are insane. And we live in a world where aliens don't exist. So I really loved her performance, and when things finally come to the realization, like, oh crap, it is all what we think it is. Oh man, heartbreaking to watch what she kind of has to go through, and like the way she kind of breaks when it kind of sinks in finally, and then what she has to go and try to pull off. And that was the other thing, man. This movie, as predictable as it is, at least twice in the movie, I was like, oh man, is it going to go that way? And I was hoping it would go a certain way, and it ended up going the way I was hoping, which I think would set up a really, really interesting sequel. But we're talking about performances, and David Denman, who plays Kyle Breyer, the Pops, Mr. Dad, Really, really solid. Also, I think he's a good balance to Liz Banks, as in like also the parent who wants to be a parent but starts to see things and is like, this is not our kid. Like he came from outer space. And these weird things happening could be like really bad things happening, and he gets put into some situations that are like, I'm not a dad. I'm an older brother, so I can sort of gander and guess at what it would feel like to be in these situations. But I thought David Denman really crushed certain scenes, man. There's one in particular in the forest. I was like, oh man, and like the facial expressions and the emotional stuff that he's doing in those scenes worked really, really well. And I thought he played a good dad that very easily would be antagonistic to Mr. Brandon Breyer, who is, of course, our evil Superman. Of course, he's not tagged that in the movie at all. He's Brandon Breyer, but that odd symbol that we see, it's actually a B and a backwards B for Brandon Breyer, but also Brightburn. You can play with it a few ways. But Jackson A. Dunn, put him up there, man, with the Omen. My man, he's hanging with Damien, man. He's in that class of like creepy kid actors that do a really good job at being a creepy kid actor. And I don't think he's a creepy kid, but he plays a creepy kid really, really well. And it's funny because you want to be able to buy into both sides of mom and dad, right? What Tori and Kyle are going through, and Brandon gives you moments where like you're like, oh, there is good somewhere in there, and Jackson A. Dunn does a really good job of kind of balancing and playing with that at certain points. And then by the end of the movie, once he starts to kind of go down the route he's going, the way he is able to pull that up to manipulate people, really, really solid stuff, and really, really good acting. I loved his performance. He's so off-putting, and when he goes rage mode, he is really scary. He has some really awesome sequences, specifically that the ones that we've seen, some of the ones we've seen in the trailers, like when he's in the diner, and he's back on the back in the kitchen, like where the freezer is. That sequence, that was the moment in the movie I was like, oh, it's this kind of gory, man. Because after he breaks the girl's hand that we saw in the trailer, Caitlin, played by Emmy Hunter, who does a really good job of being a scared little girl. Emmy Hunter is, like, from the moment she first gets scared, it's like she's sweet at one moment and then gets kind of spooked by something. And the rest of the movie, she's, like, on edge. And you don't blame her because she's right. But her mom, who's played by Becky Wallstrom, she is the lady at the diner. What happens to her, it is gruesome, and that kind of sets the bar for where this thing goes. It doesn't hold nothing back once things get going. But that sequence is a lot of fun, and you're on the edge of your seat like, oh man, it's coming soon. And you mix that with the outfit that he's wearing, that mask and cape combo. Really, really scary stuff, and the drawings and things that he does, like just when he's doing all those moments. But there's a moment with a spoon, which we've seen in trailers, and a moment with a lawnmower, which we've seen in trailers. But all of these things just kind of build as you kind of get further and further, and then he kind of has a thing with his aunt and his uncle. His uncle is like the cool uncle who bought him like a hunting rifle because the family hunts, but they're like, yeah, you're buying him a rifle. He's 12 years old. And the aunt is the actual school psychiatrist, so you kind of talk to her. Those sequences are a lot of fun, and then of course by the time we get to the finale, like I said, there's that scene in the woods with his dad, and then the overall finale. You're just like, what Jackson A. Dunn does in this movie, I was very impressed, because you are. You might not like physically be scared in the movie. What you're watching, like, that kid is scary. There's no denying that. And I thought he captured all the emotions the right way, man. Like when you start to find out that like there's a truth you don't know about yourself, and you start to learn some things, and the things that trigger him into going kind of down this crazy bad route. I just thought all worked really, really well, and just helped build all of that. As I mentioned, Matt Jones and Meredith Hagner play his uncle and his aunt. Really solid performances. I like Matt Jones a lot. When he's in the truck and the kid shows up, which, again, seen in the trailer. They showed a lot of stuff in the trailer, but still, stuff you didn't get to see that's in the movie. But all those scenes, like, expanded are so much better. But Matt Jones does a really good job there. And there are a lot of tense moments. Meredith Hagner specifically, when she kind of has a conversation when you're really on the edge of your seat. And all these performances and things just kind of enhance what you're given material-wise. I won't lie, I think the pacing slips somewhere in the middle because this movie did feel a little long. But overall, man, it's a fun ride getting to go, on the evil Superman ride and watching it kind of blossom and become what, ultimately Brandon becomes by the end of the movie. And what I think that could set up if you did a sequel where, like, now he is fully aware of how everything is. He's not just in Brightburn. It's very localized here. I think if you did an expanded, larger movie, you're going to have a lot of fun. So there's definitely fun to be had in this one. So I really dug Brightburn, man. Like I said, edge of your seat, fun action, and you really understand what Superman's powers could do when you watch this one. So there are all my non-spoiler thoughts on Brightburn, man. Jackson A. Dunn, MVP, but as is Liz Banks. I just absolutely love her. But now I want to know all of your thoughts, man. Hit those comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking. If you've gone and seen Brightburn, what did you like, not like? What worked and didn't. Are you in on evil Superman who's not evil Superman? Tell me what you liked there. If you didn't like the movie, what didn't work, and of course, if you haven't seen it, are you enticed? Do you want to go check out Brightburn? Leave all that down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man all the time, hit that subscribe button, then a little bell so you get alerts every time I make a new video. The C-Man's Cinema Sit Down. I'm the C-Man. Now I'm signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.